As with everything here, everything begins with Chuck. He called me out of the blue. He had liked a couple of the stories I had done on the Academy when I was working at my former station. Calls me up out of the blue. Honestly, to this day, I don't know how he got my phone number. He told me about this crazy idea he had for a 60,000 square foot pawn shop in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, with a gun range and tattoo parlors and everything, and he wanted to start a radio station, and he wanted me to run it.
So there's 8 of us that started February 2015 to kind of get everything rolling, and Crash and I were really responsible just for the radio portion of it.
I think it's every radio guy's dream. If they say it isn't, they're lying. To be able to build something from the ground up, to literally design the studio, to helping pick the equipment, to building the staff, to building the music and everything from the ground up for a guy that is willing to take some chances instead of sort of living in that corporate world of, well, we've got to fit inside this box. Literally one of the first conversations I had with Chuck, he literally said to me, you know that box? Blow that sucker up. It doesn't exist anymore. And that really opened our eyes and our ideas to what is possible.
Some of the challenges that we faced for starting a radio station from the ground up were, once we found the signal that we're currently on now, it was a non-commercial signal, so we had to get that transferred through the FCC to a commercial signal. So that took some time, and then it was a lower power radio station. We had to go through the FCC to get the power increased, which also meant finding a new tower location.
I remember Rob and I driving through the countryside. Where are we going to put the tower? We're literally calling farmers going, hey, I see you've got a nice high point. We'd love to put a tower here. Can we talk?
And then contracting with a tower manufacturer to have a tower put up, getting all the equipment that we need in. The studio wasn't ready when we started, when we first started the whole process. So it was making sure that we've got the right equipment. How's it going to fit in the studio? How's it going to look?
To where are we going to get the music? Where do we go to get all the equipment? Luckily, we found ourselves a wizard in Las Vegas, Nevada, who helped us put everything together.
Radio station from the ground up was a new experience for all of us. But getting that up and running and then choosing the equipment that is involved with running the radio station, such as what's behind me right here. What do I need to provide as much flexibility as I possibly can? This one piece of equipment, how many places can I use this? Instead of having to get a different setup for each individual project. How can this work everywhere?
And then also having a live 24-hour radio station. I mean, that was a challenge in itself because, anymore radio is voice tracked or they take it off satellite, so there's not a lot of talent available in radio, and Chuck pulled all the best talent from the market over to us, which was great.
People were really interested in wanting to be a part of this. So filling out the staff was really never an issue.
Crash, when he pulled together the team, he grabbed the best of the best and the best variety I think he could possibly find.
But the team that was assembled is amazing, and I think it's really a testament to not only to Chuck, but Crash as well.
Now, Taylor and Chris Knight are two people that I never worked with, but I always liked their voices. Chris had worked with KBAD on his station a number of years ago, and I found her out in Rapid City through Facebook and said, hey, I'm starting this crazy idea out here. Are you interested? She actually turned me down the first time.
I got an email from Crash, and he just said, hey, how would you like to move back to Sioux Falls and do radio again? And I went, I'm sorry, what? And he told me about the whole Badlands Pawn and said, it's this venue and it's a radio station and there's going to be a foundry and a jewelry store and a pawn shop. And I'm going, this is never going to work. And here we are. It's been crazy.
Taylor had been out of radio for about a year. She had worked at another station here in town, and I found her working at a Harley-Davidson dealership. Same thing, messaged her through Facebook saying, hey, I don't know if you know who I am, but I'm starting this. Are you missing radio? If you are, I think we should talk.
Well, Crash really sold me on it. I know Crash has been in the area for so long. He's got a following. He's been here for like 17 years, and he just left his station to start this new venture. And I trusted that if he thought this was going to work, that it was going to work and that it was going to be worth it. And it's radio. Radio is what I've been doing for so long in my life, and a rock station with rock stars. I mean, how do you say no to that? It's a dream job.
And Chuck had already gone out and got the Rev from Crosstown, who was a competitor of mine for 20 years. And he had came over to be a part of the band and be on the radio.
I kind of thought Chuck might be a little nuts, but at the same time I knew he was going to pull it off. I could just tell from talking to him that this was really going to fly, and I knew from day one I wanted to be involved.
Then we added KBAD, who again, he and I programmed against each other in this town for 15 years. So now we have 3 of the longest tenured rock guys in this town, all working on one radio station.
I got a call from Chuck one day saying he wanted me to be part of the team. And I thought about it for a long time, and Chuck, as we all know, can be persistent. And I said, what the heck, let's do it, shake things up. That hasn't happened in the radio market in Sioux Falls for quite some time.
And then we got introduced to Ron Keel right away out of the gates too. And Ron had been doing an online radio show. And of course, you know him as, multi-million-dollar front man and front man of the Badlands House Band. And so already we had key pieces in place.
My initial reaction when Chuck laid everything on the table and told me what he was planning with a pawn shop and a gun range and a radio station and a house band and all of these fantastic aspects, to me, first of all, is a brilliant concept, nothing like it on the planet. To be a part of something this unique and this special, and to be able to have somewhat of a hand in the building of this thing, and asking me for my advice and my input on some of the technological aspects of the building and how we do this, because it had never been done before.
Talk about rock star DJs in the area, you couldn't do better than that. We had a few months, when we started building the station, we built it from the ground up. Literally, I mean, there was dust in the ground when we started, and we had to come up with everything you can imagine for the radio station. How we said things, how we phrased things, how to block out the curse words in songs.
But going up against 2 big corporate radio stations, they've got the backing of dozens to literally hundreds of stations around the country. And we're the new kid on the block.
I think initially we were all very nervous because this market is saturated with the stations that have been here forever. So of course we were thinking, what are people going to think of us? Where are we going to go with this?
We're one station against 7 and 8 station groups. And so we decided we needed to be as brash as our boss is. And that's helped us along his way. When we've got Chuck leading the way and going, follow me, okay, he's laid the trail, we go in, and that helps a lot to know that we can do all the things that we've thought about over the years, but we're never allowed to by corporate radio.
And then when we led up to the final day that we actually went on air, it was Thanksgiving Day, and Crash and I had been practicing, I think, 3 days. 2 or 3 days we got to be in the studio and pretend like we were on the radio together, never having done a show together before, just trying to make sure we had a rapport of some kind when we hit the air. And I remember that morning, the day before, Crash had told me, he's like, well, be ready with what you want to say for tomorrow. Don't write a script, just be ready. I get here and I see that Crash has a whole page script he had typed out and printed. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're gonna be scripted and I'm gonna be a blubbering idiot, and this is gonna be awful, this is not gonna go well. And he's like, well, I had so much I wanted to say, I wanted to make sure I didn't leave it out. And so we start talking before we go on air, and we're almost in tears just with excitement and nerves and just emotion. When we got into the studio, Crash is sweating up a storm, and I've got goosebumps, I'm freezing.
Maybe the scariest moment of my life. Again, I've been in radio now 25 years, and last Thanksgiving was even scarier to me than the first time I ever cracked a microphone in radio. Who's going to be listening? Are there people going to be showing up? I had a long talk with Chuck and his wife, Mary Brennan, after we had gotten off the air that day. And she said the same things were going through her head. Oh my God, what have we done? It's Thanksgiving Day. It's snowing outside. Is anybody going to come? Is anybody going to listen?
It was a cluster. It was crazy because you had so much stuff going on at one time. We're trying to get the phones to work because the phones weren't working. And we're live, and we were going to have a ton of people calling in. I mean, it was a nightmare.
We're both just not sure what's going to happen next, but really excited.
There was some tense moments because you don't know when you pop the mic. You hope everything's going to work like it's supposed to, but since we really hadn't been on the air besides the music, you just didn't know. And so a lot of finger crossing and praying that when that mic pops, then Crash and Taylor are going to be heard.
And we hit the buttons and they all worked, and we were live on the air. And the cheers that went up from not only out here on the floor, but in the studio, and we had the entire staff in there, to know that we had built this together from the ground up, what should have taken a couple of years, and we did in less than 10 months.
Luckily, when we cracked the mics, I think we both made sense. There's a recording out there of our first words, and I haven't been able to watch it yet, just because it was, I don't know what I said. I don't remember what I said. I just know that it was a big sigh of relief when we got through that first break and we were on the air and people were here and excited to be part of the Badlands.